afternoon, and welcome to the Elk Grove Unified School District's virtual special board meeting through the Zoom webinar platform. We thank you for joining us and ask for your patience in advance as we navigate this new platform for conducting school board meetings. Legislative bodies, including school districts, are now permitted to hold board meetings telephonically or by other electronic means because on March 17th, 2020, the governor issued Executive Order N2920, suspending certain provisions of the California Ralph M. Brown Act. In addition, consistent with the March 19th, 2020 statewide shelter-in-place order issued by the governor, Executive Order N3320, the Sacramento County Shelter at Home orders issued on March 19th, 2020 and April 7th, 2020, and the Center for Disease Control social distancing guidelines, which discourage public gatherings. This special board meeting is conducted via the Zoom webinar platform. Public comments can be submitted to the board on items on the board meeting agenda. Because this is a special board meeting, only comments directly related to an item on the agenda will be read during the appropriate part of the meeting. Individuals' questions or comments on general school district issues may address those issues at a regularly scheduled board meeting. All electronic public comments that were submitted to the board through the Google platform will be provided to the board in writing relative to the appropriate agenda. Please be advised that everyone participating via Zoom webinar is muted and all board member votes will be by roll call. Members of the board present today are myself, Board President Beth Albiani, Board Clerk Dr. Crystal Martinez-Alier, Board Member Nancy Charis Espinoza, Board Member Carmine Forcina, Board Member Chet Madison, Board Member Tony Perez. We are missing Miss Sing Allen, correct?
I did not hear from her that she wasn't going to be here, but she has not logged in yet. I'll send her a text.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure I did not have her on the screen or something weird. In addition, today's Zoom webinar meeting is being video recorded and will be available on the district's YouTube channel. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance as we always do, and I've asked Ms. Pinkerton if she would please lead us.
Absolutely. Please stand. And salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Mr. Hoffman, if you can give us a review of what we're doing today.
Glad to. Thank you very much. So first of all, I want to thank you for the board for making the time to be part of the special board meeting today. I know it's one more meeting on top of 1,000 things everybody has going on. So I appreciate that very much. Just a quick review. We are here to approve both the district and the Elk Grove Charter learning continuity and attendance plans. And that's the only two things that are on the agenda. We did do quite a process, and Mr. Cerruti and the rest of the team were quite involved over the past several weeks getting this ready for your approval today. Just as a reminder, at the September 1st meeting, we introduced the concept of what we call the LCP to make sure everybody was aware of it, and introduced the general guidelines and the plans we were going to be moving forward. Specific to the spending items is what we brought to you early so people could see that. We posted it the week of September 7th and allowed for public comment, and that was done. We received about 28, I believe it was, comments, and a dozen or so with specific questions. All those questions have been responded to, and the board has been provided the breakdown of that information. We did do the public hearing on the 15th of this month as well. And I think we had one public comment related to the topic, but overall the feedback's been very positive. And then today we're ready to move forward with the vote on the two plans so that we can send them off to the state and meet the deadline of September 30th. So that's what we're here for today. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hoffman. Ms. Pinkerton, is there any public comment related to this item?
Madam Board President Albiani, there are no public comments related to this particular item. There were a couple of public comments submitted, but those will be, we'll ask those to be mentioned at the October 6th board meeting.
Forward, they won't get lost. So whoever sent those in, please know that. Mr. Cerruti.
Thank you, Madam President. And thank you, members of the board, Superintendent Hoffman and Ms. Avalos. The Board of Education is respectfully asked to adopt the Elk Grove Unified School District's Learning Continuity and Attendance Plan. The plan is being adopted after the public hearing, which was held on September 15th, and this action is pursuant to California Education Code 43509.
Thank you. Are there any further questions from the board? We've seen this, had it sent to us, reviewed it. Mr. Fortuna, you want to? Mr. Fortuna, did you have a comment?
I was trying to get unmuted. My computer was not responding.
You did it.
Thank you. I have a comment and I have a question that I've kind of discussed before and have been thinking about. In this plan, we will be spending many, many millions of dollars that we would otherwise not have were it not for the coronavirus. And we've had discussions on the merits of some of the items. So my question is, will we be doing an evaluation on each of the spending items to ensure that we got value for the money spent and that it had a positive impact on teachers and kids?
So what you're asking is to make sure there is a review of the funds, possibly in 6 months or a time period?
Whenever it would be appropriate to do that. I'll give you, and if you need an example, as Chris, you seem to, look like you're wondering what I'm talking about.
No, I was going to see if Mark was unmuted, so I was going to see if Mark, just from there's reporting requirements that we're going to have to do with regards to the dollars with the state and the Fed. So that's one component of it. But then obviously we do our own internal program evaluations as well. So there's multiple ways that'll be done. Mark, you speak to any of and Rob, I don't know if you can speak to any of the reporting requirements with regards to the dollars. And then of course we will do above and beyond what the state and feds require as our normal program evaluation piece. So I'll leave it to Mark and or Rob, and then I can follow up afterwards.
Thank you, Chris. And I'm sorry for the delay on my part. I was wondering if you were going to be responding as well. So just the nature of this, the setup that we have. Carmen, in response to your questions, there are certain items, so I'll use some, for example, and if we're purchasing PPE, so equipment, obviously we'll be analyzing the need and with anything up to the installation of sneeze guards and how those are working and how those are functioning. We've got processes in place to get feedback, whether those are set up at our school sites here at the district office. Programmatic, anytime that we're purchasing curriculum, anytime that we're implementing professional learning, anytime that we're providing anything that is classroom related, we have evaluation strategies and methodologies that we will be using. And so on any of these items, we would be able to respond in terms of the return on investment and the impact that it is having. So yes, the short answer is yes.
Okay, so when we had discussed the plan, I raised questions about a number of the items. One in particular was the money we were going to expend on providing extra health services at the schools via a contract. And because I wondered about that, given our current situation, I've been asking questions, and what I'm getting back is that those people pretty much have nothing to do. So that's a great job. Come to school and receive a check and not really have to do anything. So that's the kind of thing I was talking about with respect to looking at the value for the dollar being spent, or are we just using the money from the feds to provide employment for people?
So I'd be interested to get your view on somebody's perspective on that. But those folks are allowing the testing for special ed kids, which is now being ramped up and put into place to make sure it's safe for those kids to come onto campus. So we did get them in place very quickly ahead of being able to do our testing that we're now doing for our EL students and for our special needs students. So that piece is up and running. Obviously, there will be more for them to do as we move forward and are able to bring smaller groups back to campus and more kids and staff are there. But the idea that they're doing nothing, I'd be happy to sit down with the people that have provided you that information and clarify what's currently being done and what's planned for the future.
Well, as an example, and I don't need to, like the old expression, beat a dead horse to death. Nurses, our nurses, as an example, our nurses have to do vision and hearing tests. These people can't do vision and hearing tests.
Not what we hired them to do.
Right. I understand that. So pretty much our nurses haven't been in a situation where, from the information I have, where they can't execute their responsibilities. So, having this extra person, maybe down the road it really has value, but right now I wonder about it, and some other items. That's why I was wondering if for those things that we're going to do in addition to what we normally do, if those will be evaluated in terms of effectiveness. So if we're going to be doing that, that's fine. And given the comment you just made, Chris, about they'll be busier when we start to transition back, I'm sure you're aware that today President Trump made an announcement that a rapid point of care test that provides a 15-minute response is going out to all the governors, and with the priority to be used with teachers and first responders and other high-risk areas. So I would have hoped that with the provision of the test, as long as Governor Newsom allocates it to the school districts and doesn't do something else with it, we'll be in a situation that we could bring our teachers back next week. So
teachers won't be back next week. I can guarantee that. We are aware of the testing that the president said is headed to the states today. He made the announcement, so we'll see what that looks like. We haven't been waiting for that. We've been doing extensive work and making sure that we have testing capacity here at within our district, including work with the county health department and also with Kaiser, one of our health partners, and looking to work with Sutter as well. So we're working on a comprehensive plan to make sure that we have testing in place. And if the resources provided spoken to by the president today can add to that resource, that would be greatly appreciated. But we won't be ready for teachers back next week. I'm going to try to get Ms. Singh Allen into the meeting, so I will be off for 1 second.
Okay.
thank you.
Did anybody else have a question or a comment? All right, we will go ahead and have a roll call vote. Mr. Fortune, sorry. I need to call for a motion to adopt the Elk Grove Unified School District's Learning Continuity and Attendance Plan.
So moved.
Second.
Oh, I'm sorry, please hold, Nancy, I'll come back to you. Mr. Perez?
I just noticed something. I read this report, and I did notice that we're going to give some more funds for actual testing. And I thought last week we were not going to have or provide testing because it was costing too much. But in this budget, there's $1 million allocated for that.
As far
Yeah.
as I know, Mr. Press, there has been $1 million in that budget for additional testing to make sure that we felt we had the money to cover it. Somebody can back, Mr. Pierce, I think you're probably the right person to clarify that.
Yeah, thank you, President Albiani. Mr. Perez, I can't pinpoint your reference to any comments that were made last week to not testing, but the dollars here are intended to bolster programs that both the county health department are going to provide for all of our employees, as well as we found out very recently that Kaiser Permanente, and we're also working with Sutter to determine what level of testing they're going to provide. But we just found out late last week that Kaiser is also going to provide testing to any of our employees that are working in person. So these dollars are intended purely just to supplement those programs, which are every other month, so that we can be able to provide our teachers and our other in-person staff testing as frequently as once every month.
Okay, as I recall, I asked, are we going to test all our students before they come back to school? And the answer, I think, Mr. Hoffman mentioned that we do not have funding to do that. And so.
Got it. Yeah, that makes more sense to me. Thank you for clarifying. Yeah, so these dollars, as well as the program through the county health department and our medical providers, are going to be for staff members. We are still talking about the applicability and the ability to test students, but that's still work in progress as we sit here today.
So the question is, what questions me is that if we do not have enough testing dollars or testing funds, how can we bring back students for our academic setting face-to-face with our teachers and staff?
Well, at the moment, testing of students is not something that's in our plan. It very well may in the future. But again, it's something that we're working on.
Okay, the other question is, I just realized this by looking at this document that we're just going to vote on within a few minutes is an actual draft. I just noticed that on the printout here and also on the screen.
It's not final until you
do we
approve
have
it.
the final?
It's not final until you approve it.
So, okay, so this is a final, well, so this is the final copy that you approved before you give to us.
This is what we're presenting to the board, but
All
we
right.
don't make the assumption it's final until the board votes.
I see, okay. I was wondering what happened to the budget breakdown by those four coded.
That's an internal document that we use. It's not part of the template. The state gave us the template, and there's no place to put that document in the template. So that was a working document so that everybody could see how the process was working, but it's not part of the actual final plan.
So has there been any changes to that?
No.
Those documents?
Not at this time.
Well, okay, well, and what I'm concerned about in this budget, you know, the pandemic has an inequitable impact on communities of color, including the digital divide in access and technology necessary for distance learning. And so do you feel that we have accomplished to get every student or every student within our district?
We've provided a Chromebook and a hotspot to every student and family that's asked for it.
Mhm.
In addition to that, we now have in our possession enough, an additional set of Chromebooks to be able to provide additional support moving forward, depending on the learning model that's in place. So I do believe we have what's in place right now to meet the needs of students.
Mhm.
There's a significant amount of work in there with regards to the infrastructure of the district and improving that, as well as additional resources for staff to be able to better engage. And that's all within the plan itself. So we're not there yet, but we're headed in the right direction, and the approval of this plan will allow us to take the next steps in getting that taken care of.
So this budget or these line items are going that way?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Also, I noticed you have some more training dollars. Now, we provided $1 million before, correct? Or some training dollars in the last budget? These are additional $1 million or what?
We moved dollars from the original board priorities that had not been funded yet.
Oh,
Those are included in this document, as well as additional trainings that we needed above and beyond that related to distance learning, social emotional learning, and a number of other topics that are all outlined in the plan and in the Excel spreadsheet that we provided.
And in this budget also, we're going to provide a summer school, correct?
There is dollars set aside to do additional, not just summer school, but also intercession and support work outside of the regular school year, yes.
Okay. And now, does this also provide some type of accountability that we can daily check on live interactions between teachers and students?
That's not part of this plan. That was built into the MOU that we have with our teachers. And then we do have administrative access to be able to observe classrooms and observe instruction. There's also the attendance requirements from the state, and we are working closely with our vendor Synergy and our Teachers Association to make sure that that accountability is in place.
What about extending the school year or the academic?
We haven't had a conversation about adding days to the calendar, but we have talked about intercession supports and summer school, but we have not entertained and looked at extending the actual number of days of the school year.
And why not?
We believe doing the intercession and the summer school will help us address those needs without extending the school year.
So I have.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, I'd like to reissue my motion for approval.
May I get a second?
Second.
Seconded, thank you. So a roll call vote is in order. Mr. Fortuna.
Yes.
Thank you. Ms. Chair Espinoza.
Aye.
Dr. Martinez Solir.
Aye.
Mr. Madison.
Aye.
Mr. Perez.
We need more money, more funding for students. Yes.
Ms. Singh Allen.
Aye.
Thank you, and I for myself, so it is unanimous.
Thank you.
Appreciate it very much.
We'll move on to the adoption of the Elk Grove Charter Schools Learning Continuity and Attendance Plan. Ms. Pinkerton, are there any public comments related to this item?
Madam Board President Albiani, there are no public comments related to this item.
Thank you. Mr. Levine?
Hello, good afternoon, Madam President, members of the board, Superintendent Hoffman and Ms. Avalos. This is odd being here in the afternoon. Thank you for having me today. I'm here for the same purpose pursuant to Education Code 43509. The Learning Continuity and Attendance Plan for the Elk Grove Charter School came forward on September 15th for public hearing, and I am here today requesting its approval for its adoption.
Thank you. Do we have any questions? Thank you. Seeing none, I would like to ask for a motion to adopt Elk Grove Charter School Learning Continuity and Attendance Plan.
So moved.
Moved and seconded. Thank you. Roll call vote. Ms. Sing Allen,
Aye.
Mr. Perez,
Aye.
Mr. Madison,
Aye.
Dr. Martinez Salier,
Aye.
Ms. Charis Espinoza,
Aye.
Mr. Fortuna,
Aye.
and I for myself. Thank you. It's unanimous. Thank you very much for your time today. It's nice to see all of you, and this concludes our virtual special board meeting. Thank you for joining us.